Hello! Welcome to Why Not Both? My name is Pam Schaefer, and I'm a musician and therapist in Los Angeles. Why Not Both is all about how our multiple passions inform our identity, and this season we are brought to you by Under the Radar magazine and produced by Laura Studeris. If you like what you hear, please make sure to like us and subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform and come spend time with us on social media. We are at WNB the podcast, and that is both on Instagram and on Twitter. A few years ago, I quite accidentally met Aurora while swimming in the pools in Reykjavik, and now in quarantine, we got to have a chat for the podcast. So sometimes life takes you in unexpected directions. I hope that you enjoy our interview. First, I should welcome you to the podcast. So welcome to the podcast. In some ways, it's a blessing that I can do it over Zoom because you're in Norway and not my living room.
I know there are so many things to learn, but it's good that we don't have to travel that much. I hope that we'll take that part with us after the pandemic is over.
That is true. I did. I got really excited when you said that about traveling because you had posted about being an ambassador for like lowering carbon emissions and like reducing one's carbon footprint while touring and such.
Yes. Well, I heard about Choose with 3 O's about a half year ago. And since then, I've always wanted to join them, because I knew that they could help me with, their expertise. They could help me, helping the world as much as I can, because I love the world. I love the environment. I love the environmental battle because it's such a universal thing, and it's one of the only battles that touches every single living thing, the animals and the people, so it's such it feels so big and wholesome because we are all children of the earth and blah 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 blah. And so I just really wanted to work with them, especially because my work brings a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
That's where you earn the money when you're an artist, to kind of pay your employees and to keep the wheel going round. You have to travel quite a lot, and I guess in many ways that's much better than to have all your fans travel to you, because I know one way or another people will try to find live music,
Yeah.
So of course it's better that we travel around the world than all the world traveling to us in Norway. But then I just thought that with Choose I can kind of, what do you call it, zero out. I can kind of
like canceling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm cleaning as much air as I'm polluting with the traveling, and it's very exciting. And I think I'm one of the first verified artists by the UN and Choose to do this. So it's very fun.
It's so funny when you said it's like you're tidying what, like the mess you're making. It's like you're being responsible for yourself, which I think that I wish that there were more ways that I knew of to do that in regards to travel.
And though I do think it's better that, because I can do, or it's easier for me, I guess, than for every single private person. For me that has a company,
right?
It just seems easier for me to kind of cooperate with a company to clean up after myself. So maybe that's the good thing about that it's the artists traveling around, because we can also much easier get access to help. Like that. So that's brilliant.
I like that philosophy a lot. And I think that once we can go places, I was like looking around my living room, I'm like, hello, living room, it's you and me again.
Yes, I know. I know, me too.
I did get new curtains that did spruce up my living room.
Are they blue?
You know what's funny? I got one that's blue and it's in my bedroom, along with one that's purple there. And then I got pink ones for my living room. So even if I do draw them during the day, it makes it look kind of like a little pink heart in here.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, I went for a wide spectrum there.
Yeah, but that's good. I like spectrums.
When we actually can travel, how nice it will be to see live music again, but also that people have been quite innovative with how to experience music. And you put something on, I believe it was on Wednesday of last week.
Yes, it was on Wednesday last week. I just tried to make a little festival for, you know, the usual, to make people happy at home and stuff like that, and also help up and coming artists, because I know it's quite critical for them to be able to, build up their name. And this virus is stopping many of us in doing what we planned. But I think for new and up and coming artists, it can be quite a critical thing that kind of may destroy for them, or
Yeah.
may not, so I just wanted to do something
Oh,
that could kind of give them some new fans. I don't know. I think my fans like a lot of the music that I like.
yeah.
Um, but I think they got some new fans. I hope so.
I love that. The consideration, I hadn't thought of that, that so much is digital anyway, but for newer artists right now, it might be very difficult to break through.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know what to call it. I feel bad when people call it like breaking through the noise, because I don't think that really like we should discard things that people are making or say that like, oh, there's one person that should just like come out on top. But there's so much that trying to help people sort through it so that their voice can be heard is really challenging.
Yes. Agreed.
So I really like that you used your platform for that. That's really cool.
Thanks.
What was it like actually running a festival? Like, I was like, that seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, it was a lot of work, but I have the time now,
Yeah.
so it's fine. And you get used to, as an artist, or I guess in many professions that I also don't know about, but you get quite used to working without kind of getting paid, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And I guess you know what I'm talking about, and
Oh,
many people
yes.
can be creative businesses, or you get used to that you have to work a lot without knowing if you'll get anything back. And maybe one day it all comes to you get back for all the work you did. And in this case, all the money was split between the artists, um, which I hope can help them do something. I don't know, but I hope it can help in some way. But it was really fun. I really enjoy being interviewer, or like what do you call the person who's talking all the time in the. I like being that person. It
I
was very
love that.
fun, and it was very fun to kind of push them by asking way too deep, way too large questions that's impossible to answer. Um, and and that's how I learned what a profession that is, to actually be an interviewer, how complicated it is to actually find out what is the right thing to ask a person, you know.
It's
I kind
strange.
of know
Yeah.
what a talent that actually is for people, in people that are actually good. When I was trying to do it myself, it's very hard to ask people questions.
It is. You have to somehow like read the person accurately while
Yeah,
then thinking like several steps ahead.
yeah, but you have. And I really noticed that it's a real talent, and it's really hard. And I'm gonna give kudos to every person interviewing me from now on. Um, because yeah, it's really hard. And you have to kind of look at the person and ask what you know what will be the best moment, and how can you get the best out of this person. It might be a different question than you had planned, so I often had to kind of change my mind and ask them. I don't know, no, it was a learning experience.
That's fascinating. It sounds almost like when, I don't know if you've had this experience, but when you're recording with someone and like you have an idea in your head of what you might want them to do on the instrument that you don't play, that they play, but then all of a sudden they play something completely different and you're like, oh, hold up. Like, actually, that was better. Oh, wait, that actually changes what I'm doing over here. Okay, let me, like, and all of a sudden it turns into this dance where you're like, wait, you surprised me. Let me change course. Hang on a second.
Yes, it's perfect. That's when it becomes true magic between people, when you can make something together that didn't only come from, the intended wish you had for this person, but they just contribute with whatever that they have in their heart to whatever you're doing. And yeah, it really, that's the most magical thing I know, when that happens.
And it's
Mm.
still like a sense of trust that you have with someone, that you can kind of give them your intention and they can give you an intention back and you can listen to it and go, this actually made a third bit. Like,
Yeah, beautiful.
uh, this makes me want to just play lots of music now.
And me too.
And it's such a different world when you do get to kind of collaborate with others. I was wondering, like, I know that you'd been producing more of the stuff that was on your newer records, and I was wondering what's the difference for you, at least, when you are producing your own material versus when you're co-producing with someone else, or even when you ask someone else to produce a song that you wrote.
And well, I've always co-produced all of my songs because it doesn't make sense for me. It's a very obvious thing, I think, for most people that writes their own music and have an idea of how they want it to sound. It's not really special either, because if you know, you know, and then you'll do anything to make the music sound just like you dreamt it would in your mind, in your heart. And that's my favorite thing about being an artist, I think, is the producing part. That was the only difference between when I wrote songs at home and
Mm,
when I became an artist. The only difference was that now I'm in a studio and I have the tools and the chance to shape this song, this
mhm.
soul, and give it a body so it can survive out there in the world. And it's very fun. And sometimes it's like I just need a technician, because I don't want to be stopped by my own slow fingers.
Mhm.
That's very nice to kind of just have someone you can boss around and tell them what to do, and they will do it for you. And I often argue when people try to mean something about my music. So I'm actually really bad in working with other people. And I know that you can get a lot of good coming out of that. So I know I have to learn, not too much, but I have to learn a bit more to trust people and to kind of open up to other people's opinions. But it's difficult when it's your child.
Yes, there's,
um,
yes.
yeah, but I won't open up too much, just like a tiny bit, because I might learn something. But in my experience, often you don't really get better things from other people than what you have in your own head when it comes to your own music.
Mhm.
Um, but then I have met people on my way that can understand the me, you
Mhm.
know, like me and my drummer Magnus. We have made the first album together, and a different kind of human, and we also produced Exist for Love together.
Ooh.
He really understands me and respects me, and he can contribute to my music because he knows me already. He knows what I like, and he knows. And if I explain to him that I want it to sound like a volcano, he knows what I mean.
Yes.
So it's all about that language, this floating thing, and the way we talk about music. That's very important, because it's not the same word library as with other places. You know, it has its own word library. So it's very important that this person you're in the studio with is sharing that with you, if that makes sense.
Oh, that completely makes sense to me. When someone understands your, like, because I guess when it's a vision, I was going to say your vision, but it's not, because it's a sonic vision. And at least with visual visions, you could perhaps like sketch them out for someone, but when you're trying to describe like the emotion of the sound, if someone doesn't get that, it's nearly impossible to describe. So when someone actually does get it, that's so just invaluable. Like when someone actually gets it.
It's perfect, and I love producing together with one person, or like with Magnus especially, because it's very fun. It's very, very fun. It's like a dance, and I really like dancing.
I had actually wondered if you were a dancer, because watching the way that you moved in your videos, I was like, gosh, she's so graceful at expressing her songs through her body and through her hands and through her face. I was just like, I bet Aurora's a dancer.
Yeah, I am actually, or I was. I was a dancer for 10 years, but then I had to quit because uh, I became an artist, and the dancing took a lot of time, but then being
Mm.
an artist took even more time. But I can still dance. I'm just not learning it from anyone.
Mm.
I'm just doing what feels right. But yeah, I've definitely gotten used to movement, and I find moving around very comfortable. At
Mm.
times, even more comfortable than standing still, if that makes sense.
That completely makes sense.
Mm.
And I love the way I remember seeing you perform, and you were wearing almost like kind of like a skirt with multiple layers of it. So that way, when you were dancing and when you were moving around the stage, it looks so ethereal and lovely. And I was wondering, did you design some of the clothes that you wear?
Well, it kind of. I buy a lot of vintage. No. First of all, my older sister, Victoria, she is a designer and a seamstress, so she can actually like
Ah.
make things look very, very professional and proper looking. And me and her, me and her make all the music video, and yeah, mostly the music video attires together. And
Oh.
like when I went to the Oscars, me and her made my red carpet look. And because I like when I know where things are made from, I don't like the fashion industry and the factories so much. So I like knowing that, you know, we make things ourselves, and
Yeah.
you know, I like knowing where things come from. But besides from that, I make vintage clothes, and I I can't help it but to cut into every clothing I have. And so those kind of skirts are often just some long skirts that I cut short and I put them on top.
Yes.
So I'm just wearing like lot of stuff. I like like a jellyfish, or like something that could live in the sea, you know, because I like light fabrics that could move in the air, like almost like I was underwater, because I feel like it gives such a magical look, just like you mentioned. And I want my audience to be able to dream themselves away for the,
Oh.
you know, for the hour.
Well, and that's such a beautiful experience to combine basically your talents and your sister's talents, and then use those to serve the music in a way so that you have this beautiful visual of, I love that, like a jellyfish, but in the air. I was like, ooh, that is a perfect description. Cause yeah, I remember seeing it. It was like the lights kind of bounced off your skirt, and I couldn't tell like
Yeah.
how many layers there were, but now that makes total sense, that it looked like it was kind of rippling. And I was like, wow, what a fascinating piece of clothing. That looks so cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that, I mean, that speaks to a certain dedication also to the songs that you're making. Like you said, that it's like, you know, your music the best, and you know the message of your songs the best, and it sounds like you express them in so many different ways.
Yeah, well, music is more than sound. And I know that you agree. I can hear that, and even in the curtains you bought, you know, we have like a bigger expression, I guess, of what is aesthetically pleasing to
Yes.
the brain and the heart, you know.
Yes.
For me also, you know, it's all about the it's everything. I have lots of dried flowers in my room, and they are kind of built around my piano, and they kind of look like an altar, like in
Mm-hmm.
a church, like someone have died, but in a
Mm-hmm.
and I love being surrounded by my dried flowers when I write music because they are are beautiful and they look old but young at the same time, and I love that about, you know, music and clothing. And it's not the most important thing, of course, but when you have the time and you have the drive force to do it, I don't mind caring about that as well. I find it really, really fun, because it's a playground, you know, to just be playful and free and celebrating being a woman, and you know, it's just fun.
Well, that sounds like when you said about, as artists, we do this work not knowing what we get back. It sounds like, in a way, sometimes that's what we get back. Though, of course, we can't pay rent on fun
Yeah.
alone. At the same time, it's that wholehearted feeling of just like, I'm at least having a good time. I'm like, well, I at least feel very at peace with myself. This is good. And when other people experience your music, that's, I'm sure, what they feel as well. And I love that you shared that with newer artists as well, that you kind of in a way like lent your audience to them by being like, hey, if you like me, you would like these other people as well.
Yes. Yes, well, I have really beautiful. I still feel uncomfortable with calling people fans, um, because it's a strange term that
Yeah.
I don't really like.
I wonder
But
what a better word is.
they are at least beautiful people, and I know that I attract my own kind, and they're with me for a reason, and they all have things they, you know, inside them that which makes my music feel like a home. Like for me, my
Mm.
music is also a home together with all of these creatures. And I really adore them, and they're really dedicated. And I guess that will that is mostly the same with most fan bases around the world. But I just think they seem like really beautiful people, and I
Hmm.
just wish that I would wish that upon um anyone. The great people that I see commenting on my Instagram every day. I
Mhm.
would I would love for them to for new artists to experience that kind of love because they give out so much love. Mm.
Aw, I just like touched my heart. I was like, that's so sweet. Also knowing that, like you said, your music is your home and it's like you get to invite people in a way into that.
Yeah, it
And it
feels
does
like
feel at home.
that.
Oh, like that's so lovely. Yeah, especially, when we were talking about why create things when you don't know what you're going to get back. Like that's another thing that, you never know what's going to happen when you do write a song or when you do put art out. Like maybe
No,
maybe very little will happen, but maybe a whole lot will happen.
yeah, you never know, and also, or I hope at least for most people that it doesn't matter what you get back because at least you had fun while you made it. And with music, for me, I don't know, the this coronavirus and suddenly being at home for a whole year, you
Mhm.
can't really work. Or I have done, you know, some charity stuff and some
Mhm.
online festivals, but you don't really get to, you know, experience the same kind of you're in the wind all the time. I feel like I'm in the wind all the time when I'm touring, and I'm always seeing people, and there are people clapping everywhere, and it's very like noisy but beautiful.
Mhm.
And it's very strange suddenly being taken away from that. And then
Yeah.
I had this whole idea that, oh, I will just release lots of music so I can kind of reach out to people now that we're all a bit isolated. And I started with Exist for Love a month ago. But then I wanted to release a new song about a week ago, but then somehow I didn't feel like it. It didn't feel right, and I think it's because of everything going on in the world, with the virus and with Black Lives Matter, with
Yeah.
like trans lives matter, with Pride Month, and with all of the things going on. I think I've just realized just how little I care about success, because there are so much bigger things, and there is always something to fight for and something to strive for that is so much more important than fame and stuff like that. And it's really nice, even though it's devastating, and you can feel the world upon you now like a heavy blanket, which I think is good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good that we can feel that, so we will keep fighting for a better world, or at least crying for one. Um, but it's very interesting how it's kind of opened my eyes a bit, that I don't really need to release a new song. I'm not in a hurry. I can wait for the world to calm down, so is room for something so little like a song, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, and it sounds like almost in like the healing. I realized I even said the word healing instead of calm down. That's strange.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, definitely healing.
yeah, and that, now is the time to speak out for the people who haven't had as much of a voice, and
Yeah.
that way we can heal the harm that's been done. And yeah, knowing that there's a certain humbleness to that too, of knowing when it's time for your voice to be heard and when it's time to elevate someone else's.
Yeah, it is, and it's very like um, and and that's good, and it's nice to feel that, oh, there is something way more important going on, and you can just take your time and do that instead for a little while, and do charity and kind of just focus on this big universal thing that we're all kind of focusing on right now. And I find it very um, it's like you get reminded of your human purpose and your human
Mm,
nature, which is very calming. It's easier to die when you've lived with purpose, and
mm.
everything is less terrifying. Yeah, so I'm just you know looking at the world and raising my voice, and then maybe in a while I'll release a new song when I feel like it's suitable.
I have the feeling you'll choose just the right moment. You're a good listener. I'm wondering, what does it look like? I've been talking to several artists in the States and then talking to artists abroad. And I personally, I'm not a person of color, and I find it so inspiring and wonderful that people around the world are waking up to the movement. That, it's kind of weird to think, oh, yeah, the first fire that was started was a few blocks from my house. So I was on my rooftop to see where everything was happening, because I could see where the news helicopters were going. um, and a lot of my friends marched, and a lot of, people I know are so involved in it, and seeing people around the world get involved has been wonderful, because it brings the scope bigger than just, oh, this is something that's going on in my city or my state or my country. It's like, no, it's worldwide, that people are waking up to this kind of just violent inequality.
Yes, yes, I know, and it's about time. It's uh, it's hopeless to think about that we're still fighting for something that should be so easy to understand. Our right to feel equal and worthy as human being is such a basic thing that we should have understood a million years ago.
Yeah.
So it's heartbreaking and encouraging at the same time to hear the whole world still fighting for it today. But yeah, it's definitely different this time. George Floyd took the breath from all of us, and it seems like we just had enough.
Yeah.
And it's too late. With every person who have died, it's too late. But it's about time, and it's special. It's different this time also, because I've never seen so many white people raise their voices. I've never seen so many people talk about anti-racism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Rather than no, of course I'm not a racist, but like really attacking racism, because yeah, it's very necessary, and it's very um and it's about time, and we have done it for the women and for the gays, and we will keep doing it, and now it's about time that the whole world kind of rises up. um oh, it's about time.
I'm staring into my wall as though I'm actually looking at you. While you were saying that, I was just like, yes, I am very here for this. That feeling of just, it's time, and thinking of how, in a strange way, right before this, we were all united in experience by the virus itself.
Yeah.
And when you said it felt different, I've been trying to sort out like why it feels different, because I've participated in other things in Black Lives Matter, and I've participated in advocacy for others, but this one does feel very different.
Yeah, it does. I think maybe the coronavirus took away our, first it took away our feeling of safety, and knowing that the stores had everything we needed, and we were
Yeah.
hoarding our toilet paper, and it created this new kind of fear that people in our kind of societies haven't really felt in many, 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 many years. and and then I think, it took people's lives. It took our grandparents' lives, and we were scared, and then we were isolated, and then it took away our schools and the live music and the traveling. And I think we just been reminded somehow of our core, because
Mm.
everything's been stripped away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was necessary for everyone to have time, because no one is working now, so everyone can be out.
Yeah.
Or like, it seems like it it all had a meaning. Maybe it didn't, but it seems like it all makes sense. Like, there's a reason why we all feel different this time, because we've kind of been reconnected with pain, and with fear, and with ourselves.
Yeah.
More, I don't know.
Yeah.
um, but I'm happy that I think and hope that the younger generations will create a better world with equality for all, because they don't know how unrealistic dreaming about a better world is.
Mm.
So they will never stop fighting for it, because they don't know what a big battle it is. So they won't be afraid, And I think that's the beauty of the young, that they will just blindly fight for a better world, because they don't know better. If
I
that
was
makes sense.
gonna say, it's almost like inexperience works as an advantage, because if you can dream of something better and you haven't yet dreamt of something worse, you're gonna obviously go with the better option.
Yeah. So I hope that the world will stay changed for the better.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Well, I can't imagine. I guess I can imagine lots of things, but kind of people turning off the empathy that this has turned on. Like, there are some people that I think have doubled down on kind of being afraid, but then there's other people who have had this experience where all of a sudden they are empathizing with people's experiences of pain and of death because of the coronavirus, because like you said, it kind of stripped everything else away. And so it makes it almost easier to empathize with others who are in pain, whereas before you might not have seen it, or you might not have wanted to see it, I guess.
Yeah,
And now there's no choice. You're like, oh, I feel that way too.
yeah,
I get it.
yeah. It's very, it's very fascinating. It's a very fascinating thing.
Yeah, it's very strange. I loved reading about history as a child, and then I studied classical history in college. And never once did I think, gosh, it would be so great to live through really historic times. It's like, it was a little calmer just reading about them, but oh. And I think of, when you were saying about that as an artist, you get to then kind of lead the way in tidying up carbon emissions. I think of the role of artists in all of this, because people do look to their favorite artists and musicians for kind of what to do during a time like this.
Yeah, it seems so. I find that very strange. I don't like that because there is nothing that points to that any artists would know better in any moral question than any other person. But then I guess that's the nature in us that we tend to look to the people we admire.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no proof that they will know any better than you. I think it's scary when it's with people that has really radical opinions about things. Then it's really scary. This stan culture
Yes.
that can turn a whole crowd into a racist, for example.
Yes.
But as long as it's the, kind about kind matters, I think it can be good. But yeah, it's a very strange thing. I find stan culture in general a really scary thing. I find it so strange, even though I also understand it.
Mm.
But I
Very extreme. Like it's a very extreme thing of either all good or all bad.
yeah, it is very, and I just hope that people don't wait until, or like, I hope people won't let anyone change their heart without thinking twice. I hope
Mm.
we just don't make choices because someone we look up to made that choice. I hope we question every personal choice we do, with our own knowledge and with our own philosophies,
Yeah.
because that will definitely benefit the world the most. Um, I like it when people think for themselves. I admire people that stand strongly in their own mind and think through every choice they do, that
Mm-hmm.
are
Mm-hmm.
aware and I don't know. Yeah, it's very important, I
Well,
think.
there's such a big difference between admiring someone and finding a home in their music, like you talked about, versus almost like the word that came to mind was worship in a way, where you don't question what someone does, or when you just sort of blindly follow. Or conversely, like with stan culture, like I guess the opposite of stan culture would be like cancel culture, where then,
That's
you know,
really
yeah,
thing as well.
yeah. And it's
Definitely, I feel sorry for the people. Or like it's very strange because I guess 30 years ago kids do mistakes, and there are many kids getting cancelled in the age of only like 16
yeah.
and stuff like that. And I find it really, um, in some cases, I find it good that the tolerance for doing a mistake is really low, but still, kids do mistakes, and I think it's very worrying, this cancel culture, because it kind of makes it okay to bully, I guess. which
Yeah.
is which is and will always be a very destructive thing in humans, in humankind. So that's really sad.
Well, and I feel like it doesn't give people the opportunity to learn in the ways that you and I were just talking about like learning about anti-racism and learning how to do better. It's like, it's one thing if someone does purposely cause harm, but it's another if someone doesn't understand that they've caused harm and not giving them the opportunity to like learn to do better. And then see, like, you know, if they continue to do harm, then maybe don't pay attention to them. But but
Yes.
in good faith, offering someone the chance to learn to do better, I think is really powerful.
Yes, because then, you are left with one more human on the good team, in the end of the day. And I just hope people have the right motivations, because it feels like when you're getting cancelled, you apologize because you don't want to be cancelled anymore. You don't apologize because you've had time to understand your damage or the damage you've afflicted to other people. So I hope just the motivation in doing better is the right one, not being loved more, but to actually, for empathic reasons, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and there's a lot of power in taking accountability.
Yeah,
Like,
there is.
because I think about how much that means, at least in my personal life, if, you know, if someone has hurt me, if they do genuinely apologize and do better to not hurt me in the future, like maybe my trust has been kind of like dinged a little bit. But it's possible to rebuild it if you try. But it would be very sad if I didn't give people the chance to at least try.
Yes, I think so too. I like that we are calling each other out for the rudeness, because that's good. That moves the world forward. But I hope that we also give each other one more chance to be loved, because it's the most divine thing in the world.
Like, that's literally your song. That's
It is.
I loved the visuals too. It reminded me of the beautiful picture of the Venus de Milo, like just all the colors and the seashell, and I was just like, oh, yes, 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 yes.
It was a very fun video to direct, because you had to kind of play around with everything you had around you, because we couldn't really travel anywhere, or bring people over to Norway because
Yeah,
of the virus. So it's nice to be, what do you call it when you're limited? I
yeah.
really enjoyed that, to having to work with what you had around you, and yeah, it was a very fun experience.
It is really weird that sometimes taking away elements, then you have to get even craftier with the ones that you have.
Yeah, definitely.
I loved the headpiece that you wore. I noticed in the photos too, it looked like the string of pearls was exactly the right length for your bangs.
Mhm. Yes, I made it myself, so I guess that's why it works so well. I just had some extra time because I was actually quarantined the 2 weeks before the video was made, because I just came from England
Uh,
when the border shut in Norway,
yeah.
and I remember I was just bored in my house, in my apartment. I, I was kind of peeling off all the pearls I had and beads on any old dress or any old purse
Hmm.
in my big vintage uh, pillow closet.
Hmm.
And so I just, I took off all the pearls, and then I remade them into this hat.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Video. It was very fun.
And I love that that's like exactly how I would imagine one would spend the best 2 weeks quarantine is going, okay, I'm gonna find every every spare pearl. And you found the exact right amount that they looked perfect on your forehead.
Thanks.
I do sometimes wonder what I would do with a 2 week quarantine if I like the idea of finding every pearl and making the perfect headdress.
Yes, that really it took some time. It took like 3 days to hunt everything down because
Wow.
I wanted to find something that was a little golden, something that was a little purple. So it took time to kind of look through everything, but it was fun, and I had time. Mhm.
I was gonna say that's a good use of time.
Yeah.
That's
I love slow processes.
Mhm.
A slow process. I love spending a lot of time in doing one thing. I get carried away quite easily into one specific thing, and I can sit and and concentrate on one thing for quite a long time.
Mhm.
About yeah, so I I sat on my table for like 20 hours a day
Oh my gosh.
reading this hat and some like a belt and some um, bracelets for my feet and my hands, and yeah, it was it's good. It's good. I don't know. I get really carried away with things, but sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad for the neck, but it's good for the creativity.
That's how I think of my attention sometimes. I feel like my mind and my attention are like a really powerful laser, but sometimes they have like a really faulty steering wheel. Like, occasionally it will be just directed on a project and I'm like, no, I need to go and maybe eat some food. And my brain is like, mm-mm, oh no, we're just
Not.
going to keep working on this. It's too interesting. Gosh, I was thinking about how you put on the festival and I was wondering like, do you think you'll do something like that in the future? Like, was that something that caught your attention in that way, especially with the learning curve of interviewing people? Like, did it kind of catch your attention to make you
Yeah,
want to do more of it?
yeah, I think I want to do it again. Maybe even this year.
Nice.
Yeah, because it was fun and many people were happy in the end. And then it's worth doing again. So yeah, I think I'll do it again. Maybe I'll make it into a little tradition for me and my fans.
Hmm. I really like that. Gosh, I was thinking about how you put on the festival and I was wondering like, do you think you'll do something like that in the future? Like, was that something that caught your attention in that way, especially with the learning curve of interviewing people? Like, did it kind of catch your attention to make you
Yeah,
want to do more of it?
yeah, I think I want to do it again. Maybe even this year.
Nice.
Yeah, because it was fun and many people were happy in the end. And then it's worth doing again. So yeah, I think I'll do it again. Maybe I'll make it into a little tradition for me and my fans.
Hmm. I really like that. In that nothingness, like in kind of that blank space, it's almost like reaffirmed the things that do give me purpose. Like
Oh,
it's, yeah, it's like highlighted them in a way.
oh yes, definitely. And even like, oh yes, it really has. It's highlighted a lot of good and bad things, and it's. I hope it will shape my path and all of our path forward in the best ways. You
Yeah.
know, I hope the way you are forced to kind of enjoy and really put energy into small things. I hope that we'll take that with us. That
Definitely.
the meal of the day is very important and it's a big thing. I hope that I'll take with me these magical things that the pandemic kind of have forced out of me. And also just spending time not knowing what will happen today. I quite enjoy that too because I always know what will happen. And then also, we have more time to really look out in the world, and it's good to kind of really check up upon what's happening out there and figuring out ways you can help.
Yeah. And
Mm.
that's so fascinating what you said about that You're like, oh, but I know what's going to happen today. And I'd imagine that being on tour, in some ways, it's almost like Groundhog Day. Like, in a way, like the restrictions made it so you weren't sure what was coming up. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it is really fascinating.
And I like that also it gave room to help people. Well, what happens when things have healed a bit? Like, how do we keep up the activism? Like, how do we make sure that people don't forget, I guess?
I think that's the right question to just keep asking ourselves and our friends and our neighbors and the people in the store, and just really stay woke and aware. And I think it's harder to trick people into contributing to systematic racism now that people are more aware than ever.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to trick even the kindest people to be a part of the wrong system just because they're born into it. But now, for the first time in a little while, people are actually raising a question to the matter, and I think it will be harder to break that awareness down again now that it's already there. I hope so, at least.
It was a delight to talk to you, and thank you again.
Thank you.
And hopefully we will see each other in a pool in Reykjavik again soon.
Yes, I hope so.
Thank you again for listening to this episode of Why Not Both. If you liked what you heard, please make sure to like us and subscribe to us on your preferred podcast platform. You can also come hang out with us on social media. We are at WNB the podcast, both on Instagram and on Twitter. This season, we are brought to you by Under the Radar magazine. Under the Radar is a nationally distributed print, music, and entertainment magazine and website. You can find them at www.undertheradarmag.com, and feel free to support them on Patreon. Extra special thanks to our producer, Laura Studeris, who is literally a rock star. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you next episode.